that these Hey everyone, this is Life is Stellar with your host, Stella Bowman. In today's episode, we are talking all about fashion, and specifically fashion risks and how this has changed over the years and what confidence has to do with all of it. I'm also going to tell you about my own journey with fashion, how you build your own style, and how I personally take risks with my style and image. We will also listen to some honest answers from people in my life about how they view fashion and the fears that can come with expressing yourself. So let's get into it. Firstly, while I am only interviewing girls in this podcast, I think it's very important to note that fashion affects every single person, not just females. Menswear and male fashion is a huge part of trends and noting trends, and more are we seeing stereotypical styles cross over between genders. This brings me to my point that no one is exempt from fashion. To quote Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada,
and it's sort of comical how you think that you've made a choice that exempts you from the fashion industry when in fact you're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
This is probably the truest statement about clothes and fashion I have ever heard. And this also goes along with trends. Even if you wouldn't consider yourself a fashionable person, you are going to follow the norms and follow what people do. So let's take a little history lesson here in trends. For the sake of time, I'm just going to start with the 70s, and then we're going to move on. So what we see in the 70s, this is when hippie clothes became a thing. Women wore hippie-style dresses and also started wearing pantsuits to work with some sort of silk bow. Men started to wear low-rise, bell-bottom pants and platform shoes. Then during the 80s, bright neon colors became a thing. Geometric patterns, parachute pants, leggings, leotards, the works. Men began to wear sports jerseys, denim jackets, as well as jeans and corduroy. And I honestly think we love to look at the 80s because of how crazy it was. But 80s fashion was a hot mess in some ways. But I think it was kind of good because it allowed everyone to try bold new things and to see what trends would stick. And this is kind of just encompasses what this podcast is about today, that, talk about taking risks. They were taking some huge risks. Then in the 90s, we saw more subdued colors. It was still colorful, just not as much as the 80s. Plaid shirts became popular and more of a hip-hop style became a staple in people's closets. I would also say more simple lines and types of clothing became popular, crop top with a skirt, simple black dress type of thing. Then, in the 2000s, things became way more feminine. We had movies like Legally Blonde and Miss Congeniality and Mean Girls. And I would say that skater types of clothes became popular. Low-rise jeans, which I cannot stand, but super girly blouses, brighter colors. And we also had tracksuits and more, the typical Kim K. Paris Hilton type of look was popular for both males and females. Now we come to present day, 2010s and 2020s, and I would say we have gone through a fluctuation of all of these decades in the 10 years that we have transitioned into this new decade. It's super interesting to see, and this is a huge reason as to why I think the mentality around fashion has changed, not just the trends, which we're going to talk about more in a bit. What we can say in all these years is that each time a different fashion trend emerged, some risk was involved, right? So women wearing pants, which we didn't talk about the 60s and the 50s, but when women wore pants, that was a huge thing. And then in the 80s, when we saw bright neon colors and patterns emerge, and like I said, those terrible, disgusting low-rise jeans that the average person could never wear, that was kind of a risk. And while these risks seem bold to us, because, to us, we would never wear, neon colors in the way that people did in the 80s, and it seems bizarre and confusing, but everyone was just following the herd at that time, right? That was the pack mentality at that time. And I think that is 100% prevalent in today's fashion world, and I just took you guys on a little history lesson because, like I said, I think we see so many of those fashion trends that were prevalent during those decades come through now, right? So we have bell-bottom jeans and sweater vests are now in, and skater clothes, right? Like jeans that are very long lined, and unisex clothing is very prevalent too. And I think knowing that these trends and taking notes from previous trends is essential to building your own style and taking risks when it comes to fashion, because something that you think is cute from a couple decades ago, but no one's trying out, like who's to say you can't try that out, right? Now, on a more specific level, which encompasses stuff that we will talk about later, I also see that while fashion trends change, trends with how people look and their bodies also change. And specifically women. Men's bodies going in and out of style, I think that's a whole nother topic. Specifically, women's bodies have gone in and out of style. And with the age of social media and everyone has an online presence and, where your look is just readily visible, I feel like that has gotten extremely harder to feel comfortable being different. And we will talk about that specific problem in society in a bit. But to bring it back and to talk about my own style journey first, I certainly felt like this in high school, right? That it was hard to be different. I felt like in order for people to like me and to fit in, that I had to dress and look a certain way. And it wasn't just with my clothes, but it was with my weight, body type, and hair. And, I do have anxiety, and I thank myself that it never manifested really badly into my self-image. But unfortunately, these problems with self-image and in women specifically, this can manifest into eating disorders and to some really ugly things that are so hard to come out of. And, once, this is going to sound like a typical college story. Once I got out of high school, you become yourself, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like to some extent, this is true for me and a lot of the people I know. But I don't think this is the only area where it is very evident that I came into myself, right? I'm no longer afraid to wear whatever I want, whether that be an odd color combo or weird layering of clothes. I simply just don't care. If it makes me happy, I'll do it. And this brings me to the topic of confidence. And this is going to sound like the worst advice in the world, but confidence is truly just not giving a shit. That's how you find confidence. You can't care what other people think of you. If people judge you, that's their problem. And mastering this principle, which I still work on the daily, is how I began to take risks with fashion. I just started realizing that no one cares really what you're wearing or how you wear it. And in my mind, when I think of risky style, right, I think of layering odd color combos, wearing things that might be deemed ugly, but making it cute. For example, I mentioned this earlier, we were seeing sweater vests come back into style. And this would be an example of an ugly piece of clothing that was never a fashionable statement to begin with, but now it's suddenly fashionable. Now we're moving back into what I was talking about earlier, right? With women's bodies going in and out of style, because this, I feel like, halts confidence. Judgment in this age is very prevalent. Unfortunately, with social media, you're constantly comparing yourself to others, whether that be with what you are wearing or how you would look in clothes or what you want to wear. And this leads me to a serious topic and how we are marketed clothing, and not just in stores, but on social media. Oftentimes, and I hate to say, but clothes are marketed to a certain body type. And for a lot of women, trying new styles can be hard and a little complicated. Oh, that won't look good on me. Or, oh, does it just look good on her because she's skinny, or is the outfit actually cute? And in an article from Vox called This Week on TikTok When Fashionable Really Means Skinny, to focus on my central point, I want to read you one quote from this article. As always, wrote by Rain Fisher-Kwan, next to a photo of two anonymous larger people wearing t-shirts and shorts, fashion is judged exclusively by the bodies that wear it. And I'm thrilled that people are talking about the double standard and taking it seriously, especially because TikTok, like Instagram or Tumblr, can be a poisonous platform for those who struggle with body image. While there is a delightful subculture of celebrating mediocrity and ugliness on stomachs, it's impossible not to compare. What the author notes here is exactly true. Why is it that we are only shown skinny people when wearing trendy outfits? I feel like that's the first thing you see on Pinterest. If you're looking up a trendy outfit, that's all you're gonna see is just a bunch of skinny people. And I think that people who have regular to plus size bodies have experienced this sort of trauma that makes them feel like they're being left out of the narrative. So how are people like that supposed to be confident when they're literally fed an alternate piece of information? They are just continuously fed an alternate piece of information that you do not fit what you are supposed to look like. This is what you're supposed to look like in this outfit. So given that, here's my best advice. Try things out in your own comfort zone, right? In your own comfort zone. So don't wear something that makes you uncomfortable just because you think it might look good, but also don't not try something because you're scared, right? So try an outfit in front of your mirror and take a look. some creative thing that you just thought of in your head that maybe, well, I should try that, but I don't know if I'd look good in it. Well, just try it. Build that trust with yourself, knowing that your style will always be a work in progress, and developing your look will always be a work in progress. You know, style is forever changing, and so is your style itself is always going to be forever changing. And I feel like that's how I learned to take risks with fashion. You can't be afraid to just simply try. And to discuss this topic a little further, I asked my friends some questions regarding how they view fashion, and here's what they had to say. And they have some pretty vulnerable answers. So first up is my friend Olivia Pasquesi.
Fashion to me, I would say, is all about self expression, which sounds kind of cliche, but I think you can tell a lot about a person based on how they choose to dress, like how they do their hair, what they accessorize with, that kind of thing. And fashion to me is just about doing whatever you want to do, I guess. I feel like there's no rules, and it's all up to each person to make it their own. And then in terms of fashion risks, I personally do not take many fashion risks at all. I try to keep my sense of style as carefree and comfy as possible for the most part. Sometimes I will try something new, but for the most part, I stick to what I know, which is comfy. And an insecurity that I faced with fashion is thinking like an article of clothing wouldn't look good on me because of like my body type or my body shape. And I actually find that a lot. Like I'll look at like a supermodel like wearing a piece of clothing and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I totally like would love to own that." But then I think about my body type and like my body shape and like my stomach and my chest and I'm like, "Okay, maybe that wouldn't look so good on me." So that's an insecurity I face a lot. And then I think finding your style really just means finding what you're most confident and most comfortable wearing. And I would say just like try everything. Like try everything that you've ever wanted to try on and just see what makes you feel happiest and makes you feel most confident and feels most true to you, I guess. Yeah, but I would say style is very much independent, to each their own, and there's no right way to do it.
Next up is my friend Naomi Delgado.
So to me, fashion is a way to express myself in a creative way through the pieces of clothing and accessories that I wear and how I combine them to make a whole outfit. And personally, I like my outfits to match, but I don't think that every outfit has to match for it to be called fashion. So I think that everyone can have their own opinion on what fashion is and what it means. I very much enjoy taking risks when it comes to fashion, and mostly because of how it makes me feel. So, for example, I can think back to like 6th grade when I started wearing crop tops over tank tops and shorts over leggings, and I made that like this whole outfit, and I thought it was the most amazing thing. And I just remember every time I would wear it on those days, I would feel confident and outgoing, and it would just shift my whole mood, and I felt really good about myself. So I think that's where it all started and how I started learning to take those risks because of the positive feelings that came with the outfit choice. And obviously now I would not wear shorts over leggings, but I do think that it helped guide me into taking risk in different ways now. Going out in public with my outfit choices, I think would for sure be a big insecurity because, like everyone else, I can easily get caught up on thinking that others are judging me or what they're perceiving of me because of what I'm wearing. And I've definitely had days where I took a risk in my outfit and I went out and then instead of feeling good, I just felt constantly insecure and like people were staring at me and judging me. Another insecurity I would say I've had is trying out new looks. So if I see something online that I want to take inspiration from and then I try it on myself and it doesn't look as good on me as I hoped that it would, it can be very discouraging. But I think that with that, you can learn more about yourself and your preferences for fashion. So I think you can also have good outcomes to it. I would say just wear it. If you have an outfit that you feel very good in, just wear it. Forget what other people might have to say about it because not everyone's going to have the same sense of fashion that you are. And as long as you are feeling good in it, then nobody else's opinion should matter. And also, it's okay to not 100% know your style. That's why taking the risks is important to eventually get there.
Both of these girls' answers encapsulate what I am trying to get at, right? It's hard to take risks sometimes, but, you know, fashion is a beautiful form of self-expression, and you shouldn't be afraid to try something or just to see where something goes just because what we're fed in the media is a different thing, right? Well, that wraps up today's episode. I wanted to say thank you to my lovely guests who were willing to share some personal anecdotes about how fashion fits into their life. I really hope that after listening to this episode, you want to try and take more risks with fashion and go out of your comfort zone. Remember that you are the only one who can give yourself confidence. And excuse my language, but literally fuck all the other noise. Join me next week in which we will discuss another interesting topic that makes life so stellar. My name is Stella Bowman. Till next time, stay positive, happy, and healthy.